Soon. Alright, so
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Kings of the North. We're going to be hopping back into the games. Hopefully you guys enjoyed StarCraft 2 Jeopardy. I know that there's a little couple problems on the audio. We are getting them resolved. We're doing our best to make sure that the next time that you guys watch the Jeopardy segments, they're going to be in much, much better audio. But, dude, we are going to be hopping into a really great series. Coming off the back of that last one of HuK versus Neem, we're hopping into another HuK game versus an awesome opponent.
Yes, we are. We're hopping into, it's going to be HuK versus MaSa.
Oh, okay, so Steadfast. I don't know about you, but there is a very exciting history behind these players that I don't think most people are very aware of. These two guys have faced each other in multiple turns. Both of them have been around in StarCraft for a fair bit of time in StarCraft 2, seen success, seen failure, and at the end of the day, if you add up every single win on map score and every single loss in tournament play, they come out to 8-8 in series score, 28-29 in favor of HuK by one map. And this goes all the way back to NASL Season 4 back in 2012.
That is nuts. That is so insanely evenly matched. It's absolutely ridiculous. But here we have, spawning in the top left positions of Ruins of Saras. It is from Elevate Gaming, the Terran player MaSa.
And his opponent, up in the top right-hand corner of the map, the orange Protoss player from Evil Geniuses. Give it up for HuK.
Yes, now getting back to what you were saying, they are...
This could be the game if MaSa... I just want to really quickly cut you off there, because this is so important. This is a best of one, and MaSa is down one map versus HuK.
Yes, this could
could even it up.
This could even up the series. How beautiful would that be to be 29-29 with a player? Have over 50 games and a 50% win rate.
Oh, we would have to actually rig the brackets so they don't play each other in the brackets until the grand finals.
Or we rig the brackets so they play each other in the top half of the bracket and then again in the bottom half of the bracket to even out their map score.
That would be amazing.
Yeah. And that has happened in multiple tournaments before, where HuK will win the first series and then MaSa will come back through the losers bracket and win the second series.
That would tickle my fancy, Steadfast. But we are going to be hopping into this and talking a little bit about what's going on, because we do have, command centers, Nexus, barracks, and all kinds of other Protoss and Terran things being thrown down. But just playstyle-wise, I would say we talked a little bit how MaSa likes to put on that aggression. We saw that game of MaSa versus Neem where he hammered the aggression. Let me just tell you, like, Steadfast, you were there. He just did not stop, ever.
Yeah, he decided, he hit a certain point, he said, I'm not going to stop attacking. And he didn't. He kept attacking relentlessly, drawing out those storms for minutes until eventually he just wore down Neeb, and Neeb didn't have the defenses necessary. But talking about their builds here, we did see HuK going for a Gate Nexus. Meanwhile, MaSa went for actually a Rax CC and cut gas for quite a while, actually got up his second and even third barracks before starting his two gases. Kind of similar to what he did versus Neeb, not quite as greedy with that third command center before gas, but still favoring the economic route a little more. Oh, we do see actually Marines getting quite a bit of a jump on an Adept. Are they going to be able to focus down before he can get away? Oh, bit of a miss micro from HuK.
Yeah, and HuK actually dealing with that SCV back in his home base, making sure that it could not get an additional scout out, as that Adept does have a single kill. But that's what I'm talking about. What Terran player moves out with 4 Marines when there are Adepts on the map? I mean, if there was a Stalker, these Marines would just be slowly dying as they tried to retreat home.
Yeah, we'd probably have the third or fourth one dying right about now.
But it's just that idea from MaSa. He pushes out. He's not afraid to just do these kind of weird timings, and he may even be able to force out another cancel on that Adept if HuK may actually, no, he does not let that Adept finish, and he might actually be regretting that as he ends up losing it anyways.
Yeah, that's important to note, because I don't believe with the first Adept he actually got vision of the command center, so he had to send that second shade in to make sure that MaSa was actually expanding, wasn't going for some crazy 1-1-1 build. And as a result, he ended up losing a second Adept. So if we look at the units lost tab, it's going to be heavily in favor of MaSa.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty 2 Adepts for 1 worker. Yeah, I think I'll take that as Terran. Especially, yeah,
it's a frustrating situation right now for HuK, but he is going for Blink right now. Is starting to get out some of those Stalkers, and you know this can be a pretty nice map for Blink, but this is still going to be a little bit difficult, I think, to make it work. MaSa, the one thing I will say about his play, if there's one thing, I don't even want to say criticize, but I would say a potential weakness, is the fact that MaSa in that game versus Neeb was so aggressive that he literally had nothing at home.
Yes, that can be a big issue, especially against a player like HuK, who he'll get in your face, especially with something like Blink Stalkers, and I think that that's his forte, is actually aggressive play. Meanwhile, on MaSa's side of the map, we do have the stim nearly finished, as well as +1 starting. I don't believe Combat Shield is on the way. No, it's not.
Yeah, and that's actually I'm so glad that you brought that up, Steadfast, because that's such an important thing. When you're dealing with Blink Stalkers, a lot of the time you want, as a Protoss player, to get the damage done before stim finishes. Once stim finishes, oh, suddenly it's a whole different ball game. As soon as you blink forward a little bit too aggressively, that army stims up and starts murdering yours as the Protoss player. So you have to be so careful. And with that being said, also the reactor's done. Medevacs are going to be popping out. This is, in a sense, not the greatest timing, I think, for a big Blink Stalker attack. HuK still has the micro that he may be able to make it work.
He does have exceptional micro, you're right, but running into stimmed Marine Marauder as well as Medevacs, you're not going to have a great time.
No, it's going to be difficult, to say the least, but you know, MaSa has almost all of his armies sitting up in his main base. He has a bunker at his natural expansion to try and protect that, but I like the fact that, you know, HuK isn't really heavily committing to this. He's getting up Adepts, he's getting up additional gateways, and I'll say he's going to be committing to something, but it's not just the Blink Stalker play.
Oh, I wonder if he'll cast a force field. No, the Marine actually gets into the main, is going to scout everything, seeing no 3rd expansion and so many gateways coming down. I would love to see MaSa just throw down a bunch of bunkers at his front door.
Yeah, he hasn't seen the finished Twilight Council researching another upgrade. That might be a bit of a reveal, the fact that these Stalkers that he just saw blinking away from him, he doesn't necessarily know if it's going to be a massive commitment to pure Blink Stalker, or if it's going to be what it actually is, which is this transition to Adepts with the Warp Prism coming in from the backside.
Yeah, and he's not actually electing to go for those bunkers, but is going to be getting down additional production before going for a 3rd command center. That's a good decision. I like that. I like that choice. HuK, on the other hand, is actually grabbing Immortals. They've both cut workers pretty sharply.
Yeah, and MaSa drops down the scan, sees a couple of those units back at home, then HuK quickly tries to move out of the scan. You saw nothing, MaSa. But 3rd expansion not being there is a big reveal.
Yes, that's a big deal, and it is a nice scan position because it checks that 3rd and potentially sees where the army is, which is what he was able to do. HuK does get away there, actually forcing a stim.
Pulls the entire army out of position for the Warp Prism potentially that is making its way back behind that natural expansion mineral line. And MaSa has his army again very far out. There are some units sitting in the main base though.
Yeah, that's a nice preparation actually by MaSa. Recognizes
Viking.
Viking and Liberator actually gonna trap this Warp Prism. Is it gonna be able to unload? I don't believe so. Nice play from MaSa, and he is gonna actually be able to get that Warp Prism.
That is pretty legitimately devastating for HuK to actually lose that Warp Prism at this point.
Yeah, that's a huge deal. Meanwhile, HuK he's actually going up to +2 attack and a Templar Archives on 2 base. This is madness.
Well, Blink Stalkers continuing to harass this army. If there's one thing you can compliment HuK on, is the fact that he has top 3 control and doing a great job of keeping this army for MaSa, stimming, spending up all that energy on those medevacs, as well as just delaying this push across the map while he has more time to warp and more depths, get out these Immortals, and if he catches half of the army of MaSa by itself, oh, he's blinking on forward. He's starting to get some good damage done over here. The Adepts trying to take the shots, but MaSa is trying to get out of there. He has these medevacs. He's already boosted them, I believe, so he can't actually easily escape out of here.
Yeah, HuK actually might be able to just run this army down. Is kind of targeting down those medevacs. That's nice. The Shade follows through.
Oh, Stalkers try to blink forward. Some of them are going to try and go along the north side, maybe trying to look for another angle to pick off some of these units. And it looks like, yeah, MaSa going to try and fight with some of this army, but he's going to be cut off by some of these Stalkers. Now, HuK got to be careful. There are, even though very, very low bio units, there are some reinforcements coming in.
Yeah, they're actually so even in supply right now. This, MaSa wants to fight in that liberation zone. HuK says,
Ooh.
no, I'm not following you in there. I've seen Liberators.
Yeah, I've seen Liberators, and of course, wisely decided for HuK, as there are some Widow Mines in the mix as well, and I don't believe there are any observers out on the map right now for HuK. In fact, Immortals still continuing to be made from that robotic facility. If HuK doesn't get any detection, you can take some serious losses of those Widow Mine shots on your Adepts.
Yeah, Widow Mines do exceptionally well against Adepts because they do so much damage to shields. That splash damage is so good against compact units like the Adept.
Yeah, might be seeing the big engagement coming down over here, but HuK really not happy or not satisfied with any of the angles that he's seeing so far. Gonna try and move in along the top side once again. They even try to heavily commit over here from the top side as he can, yeah, blink up, take out that one Liberator. It does take some Widow Mine shots, though.
Yeah, that was a big Widow Mine shot. But we do actually see HuK going up to a third Nexus. And, oh, I love this. Actually cancels all but three of the Shades. Is going to get into the natural and start doing a bit of damage to the SCV line.
Yeah, loses a couple of Stalkers at the front. The Widow Mines, or sorry, I should say the Marauder is also dealing with those Adepts, killing off a couple of workers, but not a ton of damage done over here. Both of these players sitting around 40-ish workers, and HuK still got to buy a little bit of time for that third expansion.
Yeah, he does, and he wants to wait for that Storm as well. The +3 attack is not yet on the way for HuK, I don't believe.
No, but 2-2 has already started up for MaSa, so while this game has been pretty even on upgrades for most of these engagements, HuK is going to start falling behind starting now with double upgrades coming out for MaSa.
Yeah, definitely putting on HuK on. It's a long timer, but it is a pretty solid timer nonetheless. But at the same time, Psionic Storm doesn't care about armor or attack. It just does 80 damage.
No, it doesn't, because you know what? No matter how much armor you're wearing, when you get zapped with a lightning bolt, it still stings just as much. But
stings you right to death.
Stings you right to death. But you know, there are a decent number of High Templars. They actually might even have some of these guys enough energy for 2 storms pretty soon. And I think that might be what HuK is just waiting for, those final couple of reinforcements. The Observer piles in with the army, and here we go. HuK scouting around the bottom side. I love this, but God, this sensor tower is going to be so important for repositioning these Liberators, which I have to be so careful because they are so close to being out of position.
Yeah. Oh, MaSa actually going in, sniping in one High Templar. 2 High Templar do go down. Those had a lot of energy. HuK really needed those storms.
Yeah, but he still has a lot of firepower behind all this, even with the Immortals losing their hardened shields for a little bit. And the Liberators forced to siege up. HuK is already doing some nice damage. He's not sitting at an army supply or anything just yet, but he's continuing to put on that pressure, and he's buying himself time again for that third expansion. You have to look. Third expansion, finished up. Worker counts, HuK is even, which isn't exactly where a Protoss player wants to be against a Terran who has mules, but it is definitely looking a little bit better.
The thing is, they're both kind of stuck on 3 base, and as a Terran, with those mules, you're actually mining out your bases that much quicker.
That's true.
So MaSa he's going to start to lose steam if he can't take a 4th.
You know, I kind of wonder about that because he's got the Ghost coming out. He's got that Liberator mass still building up. He's only really lost 1 or 2 Liberators this game. I guess 4 Liberators have gone down total during the course of all these engagements, but it's starting to build up again. And if HuK can't make the damage happen over here, I'm a little bit worried. Liberator gets sniped off over here. A couple of EMPs or snipes actually going off, but most of the High Templar retain their energy.
Yeah, that's a big deal. If HuK's High Templar are a little bit clumped, if he can get those ghost shots on it, that's really going to spell doom for this Protoss army.
Oh, Observer gets picked off with the scan coming down on top of the army. That's going to make it frustrating because HuK, again, has no detection to deal with those Widow Mine shots. And as I was saying, you know, the longer this goes on, the better MaSa's army is looking, as he adds on more Ghosts, more Liberators, and I don't see the Stargate tech being thrown down for HuK that you traditionally see.
No, and we talked about that timer. 2-2 has finished for MaSa. +3 weapons is on the way for HuK, but it's a long way away, and MaSa is starting his push across the map. But these Templar can still do a lot.
They're clumped though. Storm's going down though and managed to get some pretty good hits off over here. The Stalker's not participating in the fight though. HuK joining in with the Stalkers very, very late to the engagement, but is it still going to be enough? Liberator's doing some good damage, but HuK just seems like he's prepared for this.
There's still so many Immortals left alive, and HuK is actually pushing this army to its brink. So low on HP, can't boost away with those medevacs, might be losing every medevac. Big blink forward from HuK, losing, wow, just down to 4 medevacs now.
Oh. MaSa going to be able to pick up and get out of there for a little bit. Maybe go for a drop. He needs to buy time because he still does have some pretty decent production. He's still producing an army behind all this, but HuK is going to have none of it. He's charging straight across the map. And MaSa with, I would say, actually a decent amount of army supply with all these medevacs and the Marauders sitting in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, not able to help him defend. He's really going to be relying on good Liberator placement, but one of them already goes down. MaSa is going to be in a world of trouble as this is a best of 1 Steadfast. If he loses this game, that's it. HuK going to be taking that lead that he has in the map score to a 30-28, not just 29-28.
But it's not over yet. He is trying to push in from the bottom of this 3rd expansion, but he doesn't have any splash damage. This SimCity could really work against him. Blinking forward. Meanwhile, we have a counterattack at the 3rd base, doing quite a bit of damage.
Is doing some good damage, but I think with Fortune Overcharge, GG gets called. HuK defends and aggresses his way to a 1-0 victory.
Wow, that was really textbook HuK. You think the game's over. You think MaSa is just doing this unstoppable push, and HuK's like, no, have you seen me micro? Have you seen me control? I'm just going to catch your army out of position. I'm going to hit these storms. I'm going to have the Immortal count necessary to take down that heavy Marauder composition. Yes. And it actually just tore MaSa apart.
I think the big thing about that was just that patience that we saw out of HuK, because he didn't just do what a lot of pro players might do in that situation where they say, I'm falling further and further behind, my 3rd is so late, I have to get some damage done right now, this moment, and just charging on in. And we'll actually see this in the replay.
Yeah.
But we ended up seeing this sort of situation where HuK just kept putting on the pressure and poking and looking for the opportunity. So even though he didn't get one for a while, he was patient enough that he eventually got it.
Yeah, and we see this early game just going so far in MaSa's favor. We saw those 2 Adepts going down. We saw the Marines scouting. The Blink Stalkers really didn't get anything done.
Oh, I want to actually commend HuK on that Blink Stalker control, because you can see he kept those Stalkers alive for such a long time. Barely lost any, even after taking a couple of losses, like losing the Warp Prism with a big Adept pressure he was looking to do. And you could see actually in the production tab, he was starting that Templar Crest as soon as he saw that Warp Prism was going to go down. So he was already thinking about that follow-up.
Yeah, and right here, this was a situation where HuK kind of pushed MaSa's army back. He might have been feeling good. He might have been feeling like he could counterattack and end the game. But all he does is he actually pushes, deals some damage to the army, runs it down, recognizes that MaSa's going to be able to hold this counterattack, and doesn't overcommit. That is such a big deal. And it gives him the opportunity. You see canceling those shades. That's nice. Yeah. Kind of keeping MaSa off guard. It gives him the opportunity to take a really good fight. And we'll see it coming up here, I'm sure. Nice picking off that Liberator count, too. That was
keeping it a little bit lower, making it easier to find those holes later on. But here we ended up seeing, HuK just poking and prodding. But this is right before we see that big engagement over here. A lot of the Stalkers sitting over in the corner over here, which is a little bit surprising. But the storms were just so beautifully done that MaSa just didn't have enough after it.
Yeah, and those Immortals, all 4 of them were shooting that whole fight, and none of them went down. They did so much damage to that Terran army, especially it being so Marauder heavy. That was really nice from HuK, making sure he kept the army back on the right side, but it also kind of kept MaSa's army solidified in its position.
Yeah, and I'm actually so glad that we have the technology of replays, instant replays, so rewatch the match, because I was wondering, I was watching the match, and I was like, HuK is not fighting with all of his Stalkers. There's no way he wins this engagement, but he does, and I get to see why that happened. And it's like you were saying, the Immortals, as well as, of course, some of those storms really just landing on MaSa's army.
Yeah, because the left side of the fight was fighting, at least for HuK, the left side, all those Immortals were fighting a pretty skinny army of Marine Marauder. And then on the right side, both actual sides were not fighting because those storms kind of zoned him out. And then HuK saw his opportunity, saw the Immortals win the fight on the left side, and then was able to move in with the whole army and just blanket that Terran army. And yeah, it ended up, I have to say, I think MaSa did not expect the fight to go that way.
You know, I don't think a lot of people expected the fight to go that way, but at the end of the day, HuK takes the victory and finally puts a loss on the board for MaSa.
Yeah,
Saying, MaSa, you know what? I'm from Toronto too.
Yeah.
I am also a king of Toronto and king of the North, you might say.
yeah, that's and we see that rivalry going just a little bit further.
A little bit further.
Yeah, and
HuK taking a big lead though, with
yeah.
a two map lead out of, I believe it's now 58 games. 58
Yes.
games played.
30 and 28. That's nuts. That is ridiculous.
Yeah. And I mean, these guys have been playing even like recently, playing in the Ting Base Rate TV. Ting, they played twice, where it was actually so funny. Like the most recent series is MaSa beats HuK 3-1, and then HuK immediately beats MaSa 3-0 because Base Rate TV, for those who don't know, has a curse in group stages where whoever wins the first series, if they free face in the ace match, that person, whoever won first, will lose. So that ended up happening again.
Yeah, it seems to have replaced the Artosis Curse as the foremost knowledge of voodoo. Yeah.
Yeah. Base Rate TV curse, man, it's real.
Yes.
But ladies and gentlemen, MaSa again going to be sitting 3-1, so still sitting very, very comfortably in those groups right now. And I'm trying to see if there's maybe any other updates that we have on the groups or anything. I believe MaSa should still probably be leading in the overall scores right now.
Yeah, it looks like he is. He's the first player up to 3 wins. We do have Desro down there at 0-2. Semper has not yet taken a win. A lot of players have not played very much, but we do have Neeb up there at 2 wins. That's pretty nice.
Yeah, especially getting that victory over a player like HuK is going to be much better for him, because we were a little bit worried, right, about how Neeb is performing, but getting a nice victory against a strong player is going to be really important.
Yes, very much so.
But